Hello creative fiends! Welcome back to Tasha's Imaginarium, your favorite haunt for inspiration and creative projects of all things dark and spooky. And sparkly too. If you're new here, I'm Tasha and I will be taking you through my fun creative adventures. So at the beginning of the year, Bridgerton was the diamond of the season, and it sparked a whole new interest in Regency era fashion. Now, I personally didn't enjoy the show all that much, but I did like looking at the costumes. So I got inspired and wanted to make this video about creating a Regency-inspired dress, but giving it a modern punk goth Regency vampire Gothic take. So I did some research into Regency era funeral attire and mourning gowns to get a better sense of what a Gothic Regency dress would look like. And of course, to make it more modern, I'm just chopping the length of the dress to give it a modern short hemline. So I came up with a couple of concept designs, sketched them out, and posted them to my Instagram for my followers to vote on to see which design I would be doing, and this is the design that won. So aside from the Bridgerton mania, another thing that inspired me to do this project is this top that I got a while ago from Ross. I originally got it to, do something with it. I just never got around to that. Crafting materials, hoarder alert. So now all I need to do is go to the thrift store and see if I can find some fabric materials. Bed sheets that I can use to complete the design. Let's do this.
One shopping spree later.
All right, so I went to the thrift store and found the perfect fabric for the dress. This is the perfect shade of purple. Oh my god! Once it's layered, it makes the whole thing look darker, which is great. So I was really excited about this find. And then I found this guy. So I was like, great, I have an even better mesh option to make this dress. So this is the mesh dress that I got at the thrift store. The shape of the dress is... It's got potential, but it's not very flattering. But like I said, it has potential, and I think we can turn this into something really nice. The only problem is this. These red accents are kind of not working with my purple idea. And then I found this. How perfect is this? How lucky was I? I found the perfect purple fabric, and then I found this guy, which is fantastic, and then I find the perfect red fabric to go with this guy. Score! I also remembered I have this stretch studded belt that I got in high school, which I think will work really well as an accent piece. And quite honestly, I think this mesh dress is so much better for turning into a Regency style dress than this top, mainly because of these poofy sleeves. These sleeves are a little too big and puffy for a Regency type dress. These are more like princess, cottagecore type puff sleeves, and in order to make them more Regency style, we would have to get rid of quite a bit of it. And I figured it'd be such a shame to waste such gloriously puffy sleeves. As much as I wanted to make a purple Regency dress, this is definitely more suited for a Gothic cottagecore princess type of dress. If you would like to see me make that, let me know in the comments below, and if I get enough interest, I'll definitely make a video on that. But for now, I'm sticking with the red color palette. So you know what this means.
Denied.
It means that goes back to the materials pile, and I'm completely tossing my original design. You know, the one you all voted for. Sorry. So I made a whole new design sketch, and this is what I came up with. Let's get started. So what I'm going to start with is I'm going to disassemble this dress, taking each of its pieces apart so that I can put them back together in their new design. I'm using this Regency Dress pattern. I'm only using the bodice pieces from the overdress and the sleeve pieces from the main gown to construct the bodice and sleeves for my dress. Once I've cut my pattern pieces in the right size, I trace them onto the fabric and cut the pieces according to the instructions. The pattern calls for a center piece and 2 side pieces for the front, and also a center piece and 2 side pieces for the back. Next, I repeat cutting the pattern pieces onto my mesh fabric. Because I have a limited amount of mesh fabric to work with from the dress, I have to be very strategic in how I place and cut each of the pieces. Next, I cut the sleeve patterns from a piece of mesh fabric that I had lying around. I could have probably cut it from the bottom portion of the skirt, but I didn't feel like risking it, and I wasn't in the mood for measuring extensively, so I just went ahead and used some fabric I had lying around to complete this part. Now it's time to pin each of the mesh layers to its corresponding red fabric layer. I pin the corresponding side pieces to the centerpiece of the front. Then I pin each of the side pieces to the center back piece and sew along those edges. Once I've got the front and the back sewn, I pin them and sew them together along the sides. Then I finish and press the seams so that they'll lay nice and flat in the correct direction. I flip the bodice piece over and press the seams again from the outside just to make sure I have nice, crisp seams. I use some water-dissolving hem tape to create some hems on the back edges of the bodice. I fold the edge over again, making sure to trap the mesh layer inside the fold, and I press it and take it to the sewing machine. And I repeat this exact same process again on the other side. Now it's time to sew the hem along the neckline of the bodice. I use more of this washable hem tape in lieu of stay stitching for the back neckline. For some reason, the shoulder straps on the bodice weren't resting right where they should, so I had to cut them out and make some new ones out of the sleeves of the mesh dress. and I pinned them to the bodice where they should go. I followed the instructions on how to make the sleeves using this stretch velvet trim to create the elastic arm loops. And now for everyone's favorite part, attaching the sleeves to the armholes. Once I had the mesh sleeves sewn to the armholes, I went ahead and finished the seams by using more of the washable hem tape and creating a rolled hem. I made sure the rolled hem was properly placed and that none of the mesh was getting tugged or pulled in any way that it shouldn't be, and I pinned everything in place and took it to the sewing machine. Once again, I took some of the stretch velvet trim and pinned it all along the shoulder strap and sewed it into place. And to add even more detail, I used more of that stretch velvet trim to line the edge of the neckline. I measured and traced where I want the skirt to meet the bodice and trimmed the excess fabric. I used zip ties as boning and created the pockets for the boning by sewing down the edges of the seam allowances on the sides and the back of the bodice. Since a lot of the studs and details were cut off during the pattern making process, I'm hot fixing some more studs to finish decorating the front of the bodice. Now it's time to work on the skirt. I made a front panel that goes from the bust line down to my waist and then flares out from my natural waistline. And then I made a back piece that also flares out from my natural waistline, and I attach the front panel to each of the sides of the back panel, making sure I leave the correct space on the top portion to attach to the curves of the bodice. I take the mesh dress skirt. I'm going to pick the seams and remove the elastic on it so it can lay flat on the center panel and keep the elastic ruffling towards the sides and back. I make sure to cut a slit down the center of the back where the zipper will be attached. And then I make sure to sew all along the top edge of the skirt to attach the mesh layer to the red layer. Then it's time to attach the bodice to the top edge of the skirt. Once it's all sewn together, I make sure to finish the seam and press it down. To keep the mesh layer from bubbling up, I'm going to stitch it down just below the seam. Now I'm going to finish the seams along the back opening before I attach the zipper. I pin the zipper in place and use a zipper foot to sew it as close to the edge as possible. Once I've sewn one side of the zipper, it's time to sew the other side to the other back edge. Et voila! Now I'm going to cut the bottom of the skirt to the length that I want it. In my original design, it was all going to be the same short length, but when I tried the dress on to see where I wanted the hemline to be, I realized that it looked really nice with a slight high-low angle to it, so that's what I'm going for. Once I've cut all the excess fabric to roughly the length that I want it, I clean everything up using a French curve. And now it's time to hem all along the edge. By the way, if you like this voodoo doll pincushion that I have on my wrist, I'm including the link to the video on how I made it in the description box below, so check it out after this video. I added some extra hot fix pyramid studs to the mesh layer just to make sure that it didn't look bare in any parts. And just for fun, I decided to make these crystal jewel vampire bites as an accessory. And now, the moment of truth. It's time to put this on and see how it came out and how it looks. Drum roll, please. Previously on Gotherton. I will not marry Lord Dukington. I have met a superior match, and I bear his mark. Because only a vampire can love you forever. This was a very fun project to make, and I'm really happy I have a cool new dress to wear. I hope you had fun too, and that you'll come back and watch more videos from Tasha's Imaginarium. Remember, click on the subscribe button and the little bell next to it so you'll be notified as soon as a new video comes out. Until next time, stay creative.